Jim, cannot thank you enough for taking the time with us tonight. We're about an hour and a half before the gig in Sydney, and how's the tour been going so far?
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. We spent 5 days in Perth, mainly on the beach. And then I've been in all sorts of places since. Every gig's been amazing. Venues have been just incredible, and the crew are just great. Loving being in Australia, loving it.
That's great. And for our regular viewers, we quite regularly are at the Enmore Theatre, beautiful theatre. And so, Jim, just give us a brief rundown of what I'm assuming mostly backline gear, and we'll talk to your keyboard tech Niall in a sec too. But just give us a brief rundown of what works well for you and why you've got what you've got.
Okay. Well, normally I use an old RD1000 because I have got about 4 of them because nobody wants them anymore. But they've got the best action, and piano players will know that the RD1000 still has the best action in town. So for this tour, I'm using an RD2000, and then I'm just using keyboardist trigger.
The Axiom,
So the Axiom, I'll use to trigger main stage 3. I've got a Roland VK8, but I normally have a C3.
Okay, yep.
So this is the only one we could get. It'll do a little bit.
Yes.
Kind of sounds like it, sort of, but we've also got a Leslie here. We've got one of the new ones tonight.
It is too.
Again, you can do all sorts of things with them. I've got 144, I think. Is it a 122?
147 Leslie, yep.
Yeah, I've got the 122 amp in the 144, which has got more punch in it, and normally I would have that. But this is, we've also got, when you play festivals, you can't rely on the power. So this would be a disaster for Hammond. So I've got the smaller Leslie, the kind of Hammond one as well. And again, another Axiom to, we've been using Akai's, but the Axiom's got a better feel to it.
That's right.
Then I've got some older keyboards, which I love, which are the Roland XV 3080 and the 1080.
1080 got one beautiful piece of gear.
Never been beaten.
No,
for pads and strings and it sounds like a synth, but and that's about it really. So I'm mainly piano and Hammond with some strings.
I was going to say, because Deacon Blue has a whole range of sounds, and obviously piano and organ are fundamental. And I know the last album in 2021 had a lot of great electric pianos and stuff in it. So. But it sounds like you've got all the bases covered.
We have another piano down the front there where I'll go later on.
Oh, yeah, it is too.
I play a bit of accordion as well.
Nice. What's the accordion?
It's not very good. That's what it is. It's the only one we could get.
Oh, yeah, so that's backlined. That's backlined as well. Yeah, okay.
It's kind of, I think they found it in a supermarket somewhere. It's got a kind of sound that sounds like... I'm from Glasgow, you give me a tin can, if it's got keys on it, I'll play it.
No, Jim, that's a superb rundown. And look, I can't tell you how excited we are for the gig tonight, and really appreciate you giving us a brief rundown.
No trouble. I have to pass on a top tip, and it was passed on to me, it was told to me by a guy called John Martin, who I used to play with many years ago, and he was an alcoholic, but he said, if you want to really learn how to play the piano in a band, then learn to play with your eyes shut. Guitarists don't need to do that, they know. And just try it, because all the best piano players in the world are blind, and suddenly realize that you actually know what you're doing, so you should be able to, once you get a handle, that C, F, G, C, F,
That's right.
You know where it is. So stop going like that. Because then when you look at your fingers, you'll freak out.
Yes.
And I'm telling you will.
Yes. Yeah, second guess yourself. Yeah.
So practice with your eyes shut, because something else happens. You hear yourself in a band, and you hear the drum part, and you hear everybody else playing, and where you sit in it. But that's my tip.
Niall, thanks you as well for joining us. So you're obviously the keyboard tech for Deacon Blue. So let's dig a little bit even deeper into the rig. So Jim's given us a brilliant overview of the 4 boards, and he alluded to the fact you use MainStage. So how do you use MainStage to run an effective show?
We use MainStage for all of the MIDI patching. We use onboard synthesizers, we use external synthesizers, proper hardware stuff. a lot of folk have asked over the years, why don't we just go with soft synths and get rid of all the racks, etc. And the answer is, in my opinion, the Roland software, it's just not quite there yet.
No.
These sound really good, particularly the bottom end.
Yeah.
So to me, and touching wood, they've always been incredibly reliable.
Yeah.
So it's worth the extra hassle of bringing them. They do sound fabulous. The rig is set up 3 MIDI keyboards.
Yep.
We will, for the RD 1000 in Jim's case, the 2000 on return here, we will use some of the onboard sound, the onboard piano sound,
Yeah.
to reinforce the contact piano sound that we use.
Yeah. Okay.
So all 3 come in. We have a MIDI, multiple MIDI in out, an old Motu interface. We take it in. We use a contact piano, which I think is Grandeur.
I was about to. Oh, your Granger's great. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
We use. I set up a different patch per song. A lot of the times you can have piano and the JV or XV or some of the onboard soft synths within main stage. Some stuff from Contact.
Yep.
We use some of the Korg plugins, which do sound very good.
Yes, they are.
Really like the Korg stuff. When we A/B'd it against hardware, the Korg stuff sounded really good.
That's right.
So without giving too much away of a set list,
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Tonight, as you do a main stage, we've mapped out 3 keyboards and what we're doing here. I'll just run down quickly. So, essentially, instead of the old MIDI patch bay Jim would use, where we'd have to write out a patch number per
Yes.
song, we've moved on to main stage. Instead of just using this as an instrument, we started to bring everything through. So, each of the 3 keyboards represented on here.
That's right.
We can just send it about, as I'm sure most
That's
folks
right.
know. We map a few controllers,
Yep.
sustain pedals. I've a duplicate of an expression pedal down here, and on one of the faders here, depending on
Yep.
which is available to
Yep, that's
hand
right.
or foot. And we will I'll program in the set as per when the set comes into us, which changes every night.
Oh, so the set does change every
So
night.
set
Yeah.
changes
Yeah.
every- sometimes the set changes during the show.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
So how do you manage that? Yeah.
And then I'll leave a gap, a blank patch, and below that we will have all of the other songs possible alphabetically,
Yes.
so we can just quickly jump to them and then jump back if Ricky.
So is that something you do for Jim, or he just switches down?
Usually I'll get the nod, and
Yeah.
Jim can switch down, but it'll be quicker if I just.
Yeah,
switch
that's
on and
right,
switch
yeah.
and he can
Yeah.
It'll just be a little bit quicker. With the keys rack, we're using a Focusrite Scarlett 18i20 for the
Yeah.
audio
Focusrite
interface.
stuff's great. Yeah.
We put out 3 stereo pairs.
Okay. Yep.
Piano sounds, synths, pads, string sounds off a second stereo pair, and third stereo pair will do some extra little bits and pieces that
Right.
don't get used as well as much. And we do need a click for 1 or 2 of the songs that do a big strings bit and a little bit where there's a breakdown and do need to save the
That's right.
time through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just send that to the monitor desk, goes over to a headset
Yep.
and uses big old headphones.
Yes.
It's great.
And do the rest of the band use in-ears or?
No, everyone's on monitors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So it's purely just, it's a bit like the Who days. You've got
yeah.
Keith with the
Yeah,
headphones
gaff
on, the
tape
big
around
gaffer
it,
tape
yeah.
headphones. Yeah.
Yeah, like Keith Moon. And as it stands, that's just for 1 song.
Yeah.
Normally, I carry our DIs as well. XV3080, JB1080,
Yeah.
audio interface, and MIDI timepiece, which is an old one, but still great.
They're great.
And then DIs. This would normally be 1 rack. I would also run a backup rack when we're not
About
doing
to ask
flying
about that.
tours.
Yeah.
So, as we change the patch here, they all have a program change number, which will then tell the backup rig, which again has a JV1080, actually 3080. It will, all the songs are listed alphabetically there
Yes.
with a different program change number. So, and that will in turn change the programs for the XV and JV, the external stuff as well as the internal software. So with one press of a button, program changes here and program changes.
And did you say, so you do have that here or?
Don't have.
No,
it
I was going to
here.
say, yeah. So,
To fly, yeah. it
but I
was,
mean, I'm assuming there are enough
very much.
onboard sounds with, between the roll, like the 2 roll-in
Yeah.
boards. If you had to, obviously you could
Yeah.
go with onboard only. But yeah.
Yeah, occasionally there is one song where we will take MIDI from Ricky's piano,
Oh, yeah.
which we'd normally just use its onboard sounds. One of them we use una corda, on the
yes.
stage. So I'll
Yep.
just take it into the front here. I'll just run a MIDI lead from there over to here, turn the volume down there, and it will come out the the channels 3 and 4 of our audio interface.
Gotcha.
Which keeps the monitoring from
Yes.
those guys on their toes. So
Yeah.
watch out
It
for
would
that.
too. Yeah.
And generally, that's kind of it.
The only things the only tricks and restaurants where the girls are fully covered. Student ever there, outside the flashing neon sign, with the smell of cheap cigars. Lost the will from keeping on, just as the winter was dragging. It's a ranger top jumpers you don't pay. People are sitting there, let me tell you something. When you step out on the rock and roll highway and you throw yourself under the wheels of the rock and roll juggernaut, there are temptations along the way. If you're gonna fall for them, you need some spiritual direction. For that, we rely on the high priest of the pianoforte. And also the high priest, and the hand organ, the cardinal, and the clavinet.